Gracia-Otaku here. We're going to be getting back into it with page 85, The Grapes of Wrath. I'm going to be your personal narrator for this. If you haven't been onto this channel before, go ahead and check out the channel description. If you have been here before, go ahead and grab your eucalyptus inhalation equipment. That out the way. Clink, clink, clink. Second one. No, Maggie. Oh yes, of course. Also, I have the water bottles on standby. These sessions do get intense. We're just going through a little bit of smoke sesh right now. Usually I've been giving commentary for the majority of that 2-minute time length, but honestly, I just really wanted to smoke. Pack the next one for whenever we do get to the next part. Until then, 3 solid good hits off the one hitter beat. Good. Alright. Yep, here we are. The men finished and put down their plates and drained the last of their coffees. And then the men went out, Paul and the preacher and Noah and Grandpa and Tom, and they all walked over to the truck. Avoiding the litter of furniture, the wooden bedsteads and windmill machinery. The old plow, they walked to the truck and stood beside it. They touched the new pine sideboards. Tom opened the hood and looked at the gray, greasy engine. Paul came up beside him. He said, Brother Al looked her over before we bought her. Said she looked all right. What's he know? Tom said. Question mark. He's just a squirter, said Tom. He worked for a company. Drove trucks last year. He knows quite a bit. Smart aleck like he is, he knows. He can tinker an engine. Al can. Tom asked, Where's he now? Question mark. Well, said Paul, he's a billy going around the country. Tom carried himself to death. Smart Alex, 16 year older, and his nuts is just egging him on. He don't think of nothing but girls and engines. A plain smart Aleck. Ain't been at nights for a week. Grandpa fumbled with his chest, has succeeded in buttoning the buttons of his blue shirts and the buttonholes of his underwear. His fingers felt that something was wrong, but he did not care enough to find out. His fingers went down to try and figure out the intricacies of the buttoning of his shirt. "I was worse," he said happily. "I was much worse. I was a heller. You might say, well, there was a camp meeting right in Salsa, when I was a young fella, a little bit older now. He's just a squirt and punk and soft, but I was older, and we was there to this camp meeting, 500 folks there in a proper sprinkling of young heifers." "You don't look like a heller yet, Grandpa," said Tom. "Well, I am, kinda, but I ain't nowhere near the fella I was. Just let me get out to California where I can pick me an orange when I want, or grapes. There's a thing I ain't never had enough of. Gonna give me a whole bunch of grapes off a bush. Whenever I am gonna splash on my face and let 'em run off my chin." Tom asked, "Where's Uncle John? ? Where's Rosa Scherer? ? Where's Ruthie and Winefield? ? Nobody said nothing about them yet." Paul said, "Nobody asked John. Nobody asked John. John got a saucer with a load of stuff to sell. Pump, tools, chickens, and all the stuff to bring over. Took Ruthie and Winefield with him. Went before daylight." "Funny I never saw him," said Tom. "Well," Paul said, "come down from the highway, didn't you? ? He took the back way, Cowlington. And Rosa Sharon, she's nesting with Connie's folks. By God! ! You don't even know Rosa Sharon's married to Connie Rivers. You remember Connie? Nice young fella. And Rosa Sharon's doing about 3 or 4 or 5 months now. Swelling up right now. Looks fine." "Jesus," said Tom. "Rosa Sharon's just a little kid, and now she's gonna have a baby. So damn much happens in 4 years if you're away. When you think of starting out west, Paul? ? Well, we gotta take care of this stuff and sell it," Paul said. "If Al gets back from his squirring around, I'll figure he could load the truck and take all of it in, and maybe we could start out tomorrow or the day after. We ain't got so much money, and a fella says it's damn near 2,000 miles to California. Quicker we get started, sure we'll get there. Money is dribbling out all the time. You got any money? ? "Only a couple dollars," Tom said. "How'd you get money?" Tom said. "Well," said Paul, "we sold all our stuff at our place and a whole bunch of us chopped cotton, even Grandpa." "Sure did," said Grandpa. "Put everything together. $200. We give 75 for this here truck, and me and Al cut her in two and built this here back. And Al was grinding the valves, but he's too busy messing around to get her down to get her. Well, that may be 150 when we started. Damn old tires on this here truck ain't gonna go fat. Ain't gonna go far. Got a couple worn out spares. Pick stuff up along the road, I guess." The sun, driving straight down, stung with his rays. The shadows of the truck bed were dark bars on the ground, and the truck smelled of hot oil and oilcloth and paint. A few chickens had left the yard to hide in the tool shed from the sun, and the sty of pigs lying panting close to the fence where a thin shadow fell, and they complained shrilly now and then. The 2 dogs were stretched in the red dust along the truck, panting, their dripping tongues covered with dust. Paul pulled his hat low over his eyes and squatted down on his hams, and there were his natural position of thought and observation. He surveyed Tom critically. The new but aging cap, the suit, and the new shoes. "Did you spend your money for them claws?" he asked. "Them claws were just going to be a nuisance to you." "They give 'em to me," said Tom. "When I come out, they give 'em to me." He took off his cap and looked at them with admiration. then wiped his forehead with it and put it on ricishly, and pulled at the visor. Paul observed, "It's a nice looking pair of shoes they given you." "Yeah," said Tom. "Pretty nice, but they ain't no shoes to go walking around on a hot day." He squatted beside his father. Noah said slowly, "Maybe if you get them sideboards all trued up, we can load up this stuff. Load her up so maybe if Al comes in." "I can drive her, if that's what you want," Tom said. "I drove trucks at McAllister." "Good," said Paul, and then his eyes stared down the road. "I ain't mistaken. There's a young smart aleck dragging his tail home right now," he said. "Looks pretty worn out, too." Tom and the preacher looked up at the road, and Randy Owl, seeing he was being noticed, threw back his shoulders and came into the yard with a swaying strut like that of a rooster about to crow. Page 88. We're almost there, but I want to go ahead and take a quick, before we start, hydration check. Back in the military academy for 6 months straight, every single day, every hour, just had to carry around a canister, about a 2-ounce bottle of water that I would just fill back up through the day. It was pretty cool. I don't know if it was 2 ounces. It could have been more, it could have been less, but all I know is when it was full, it was heavy, and when it was empty, it was still just a little bit weighty. Anyways, clink, clink, clink. About to crow. Yeah, until the bitter end of this book, I don't stop. I'll just not stop being a rooster. By that I mean they got Al having relations with so many women throughout the book. You'll see throughout time that is him just strutting his feathers. The way that I see it, Al's got his priorities. Everybody has their pleasures in life, but Al, he found his. No matter how shallow or deep it may be, he truly makes a conviction at the end of this movie. Click, click, click. With the swaying strut like a rooster about to crow. Cockingly, he walked close before he recognized Tom, and when he did, his bolstering face changed in admiration and veneration. I don't think I put veneration down. I'm going to plot that real quick. veneration, veneration. Alright, I'm going to look that word up later. Shown in his eyes. And, you know, you got admiration, but veneration, it's like, it does not pop immediately into my head like it should. Shown in his eyes. And his swagger fell away. His stiff jeans with the bottoms turned up 8 inches to show his heeled boots. His 3-inch belt with copper figures on it. Even the red armbands on his blue shirt and the rickish angle of his Stetson hat could not be built him up to his brother's stature. for his brother had killed a man, and no one would ever forget it. Al knew that even he had inspired some admiration among boys of his age because his brother had killed a man. He had heard in Southsaw how he had pointed out, that's Al Joel. His brother killed a fellow with a shovel. And now Al, moving humbly near, saw that his brother was not a swaggerer, as he had supposed. Al saw the dark, brooding eyes of his brother, and the prison calm and smooth, hard face trained to indicate nothing to a prison guard. Neither resistance nor slavishness, and instantly Al changed. Unconsciously, he became like his brother, and his handsome face broadened, and his shoulders relaxed, and he had remembered how Tom was. Tom said, "Hello, Al. Jesus, you've grown like a bean!" Exclamation point. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known you. My bad. Al, his hand ready for if Tom should want to shake it, grinned self-consciously. Tom struck out his hand, and Al's hand jerked out to meet it. And there was liking between these two. "Tell me you're a good hand with the truck," said Tom. And Al, sensing that his brother was not like a boaster, said, "I don't know nothing much about that." Paul said, "Been smart alecking around the country. You look worn out. Well, we're going to take a load of stuff in Southsaw to sell." Al looked to his brother Tom. "Here to ride with me?" And he said, as casually as he could, "No, I can't," said Tom. "I'm helping around here. We'll be together on the road." I'll try to control his question. Did you bust out? Of course. Of jail? No, said Tom. I got parole. Oh. And I was a little disappointed. Chapter 9, page 89. I'm going to make it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick hit before we continue. Chapter 9. In the little houses, the tenant people shifted their belongings and the belongings of their fathers and their grandfathers, picked over their possession. I guess this is going to be another exposition. I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong. Basically, we are not following the main characters. In the house, the tenant people stiffed with their belongings and the belongings of their fathers and their grandfathers, picked over their possessions for the journey to the west. The men were ruthless because the past had been spoiled, but the women knew how the past would cry to them in the coming days. The men were in the barns and in the sheds. That plow, that harrow. Remember in the war we planted mustard? ? Remember a fella wanted us to put in that rubber bush there called goyo? Get rich, he said. Yeah, I don't recognize that word either. G-U-A? Y-U-L-E. Get rich, he said. Bring out these tools. Got a few dollars for them. $18 for that plow, plus freight. Sears, rollbuck, harness, card, cedars, little bundles of hose. Bring them out. Pile them up, load them on the wagon. Take them to town. Sell for what you got. Sell the team and the wagon too. No more use for anything. 50 cents isn't enough to get for a good plow. That cedar costs $38. $2 isn't enough. Can't haul it all back. Well, take in the bitterness with it. Take the well pump and the harness. Take hellers, collars, hams, and tugs. What the little glass bar of banjules? Rose red under glass. Get those for the bay bleeding. Remember how he lifted his fingers when he trotted? Junk piled up in the yard. Can't sell a hand plow anymore. 50 cents for the weight of the metal. Disc and tractors. That's the stuff now. Well, take it. All junk, and give me $5. You're not buying only junk, you're buying junk live. You're buying junk lives. And more, you'll see, you're buying bitterness. Buying a plow to plow your own children under. Buying the arms and spirits that might have saved you. $5, not 4. I can't haul them back. We'll take it for 4. But I warn you, you're buying what will plow your own children under, and you won't see it. You can't see it. Taken for 4. Now, what you'll give for the team and wagon? Question mark. Those fine bays, matched they are, matched in color, matched the way they walked, stride to stride, and the stiff pull, strained hams and buttocks, split second time together, and in the morning the lights on them, bay light, and they looked over the fence sniffing for us, and the sniff ears swivel to hear us, and the black forelocks. I've got a girl. She likes to braid the manes and forelocks, puts little red bows in them, likes to do it. Not anymore. I could tell you a funny story about the girl they laid off. That off bay. You would make you laugh. Off horses 8, near as 10. But might have been twin collets if the way they work together. See? The teeth. Sound all over. Deep lungs. Feet fair and clean? How much? $10 for both? And the wagon? Oh, Jesus Christ. That'll shoot him in a dog feet first. Oh, take 'em. Take 'em quick, mister. You're buying a little girl plating the forelocks, raking off her hair ribbons to make bows, standing back, head cocked, rub the soft nose with her cheek. You're buying years of work, toil in the sun. You're buying a sorrow that can't talk. But watch it, mister. There's a premium going with the pile of junk and the bay horses. So beautiful. A packet of bitterness to grow in your house, and a flower someday. We could have saved you, but you cut us down, and soon you will be cut down, and there'll be none of us to save you. And the tenant man came walking back, hands in their pockets, hands pulled down. Some bought a pint and drank it fast to make the impact hard and stunning. They didn't laugh, and they didn't dance. They didn't sing or pick the guitars. They walked back to the farms, hands in pockets and heads down, shoes kicking the red dust up. Maybe we could start again at the new ridgeland in California, where the fruit grows. We'll start over, but you can't start. Only a baby can start. You and me, why, we're all that's being. The anger of a moment. 1,000 pictures. That's us. This land, this red land, it's us. And the flood years and the dust years and the drought years are us. We can't start again. The bitterness we sold to the junk man. He got it all right now, but we have it still. And when the owner man told us to go, that's us. And when the tractor hit the house, that's us until we're dead. To California or another place. Everyone a drum major leading a parade of hurts, marching with our bitterness, and someday the armies of bitterness will all be going the same way, and they'll all walk together, and there'll be a dead terror from it. The tenant man scuffed home to the farms through the red dust, where everything that could be sold was sold. Stoves and bedsteads, chairs and tables, little corner cupboards, tubes and tanks. Still there was piles of possessions, and the women sat among them, turning them over and looking off beyond and back. Pictures, square glasses, and here's a vase. Page 91. Making good time. Alright. With all the crumble. All the crumble that's broken down. We shall be going to Rangers. Still a good time. precinct. Was it like 22 more pages left? 22. To California or any other place, everyone, a drum major leading a parade of hurts, marching with our bitterness. And someday, the armies of bitterness will all be going the same way. And they'll all work together. They'll all walk together. And there'll be a dead terror from it. The tenement scuffed home to the farms through the red dust, when everything that could be sold was sold. Stoves and bedsteads, chairs and tables, little corner cupboards, tubs and tanks. Still there were piles of possessions, and the women sat among them, turning them over and looking off beyond and back. Pictures, square glasses, and here's a vase. Now you know, well, what we can take and what we can't take. We'll be camping out. A few pots to cook and wash in, and mattresses and comforts, lanterns and buckets, and a piece of canvas. Use that for a tent. This kerosene can? Know what that is? That's the stove. And clothes? Take all the clothes. And that rifle? Wouldn't go out naked of a rifle. When shoes and clothes and food? When even hope is gone, we'll have the rifle. When Grandpa came, did I tell you? He had pepper, salt, and a rifle. Nothing else. And the sides of the trailer, and the kids can sit in the trailer. And Grandma on the mattress. Tools, a shovel, and a saw, and wrench, and pliers, and ropes. Of course, the rest, ? Leave it, or burn it up. And the children came. If Mary takes the dolls, that dirty rag doll, I gotta take my Injun bow. I got to, and this round stick, big as me. I might need this stick. I had this stick for so long, a month or maybe a year. I gotta take it. And what's it like in California? ? The women sat among the doomed things, turning them over and looking past them and back. This book, my father had it. He liked this book, Pilgrim's Progress. I used to read it. Got his name on it, and his pipe still smells rank. And this picture, an angel, I looked at it before the fuss 3 came. Didn't seem like much good. Then we could have got this China dog in. Aunt Sandy brought it from St. Louis Fair, see? ? Wrote right on it. No, I guess not. Here's a letter my brother wrote that day before he died. Here's a old-timey hat. These feathers, never got to use them. Now these here room, how can we live without our lives? That is sad. How will we know it's us without our past? No, leave it, burn it. They sat and looked at it and burned into their memories. How do we not know what lands outside the door? How do we wake up in the night and know the willow tree's not there? Can we live without the willow tree? ? Well, no, you can't. The willow tree is you. The pain is in the mattress there. That dreadful pain, that's you. And the children, if Sam takes his Inju bow and his long round stick, I get to take 2 things. I chose the fluffy pillow. That's mine. Suddenly they were nervous. Got to get them out quick. Can't wait. We can't wait. Then they piled up the goods in the yard and set fire to them. They stood and watched them burn. And then frantically they loaded up the cars and drove away. Drove in the dust. The dust hung in the air for a long time after the loaded cars had passed. So yeah, that was just a random set of people. We're not done. Not even close. That was just a random example of people that just made the decision to start going west and did some very drastic things in the name of survival. Honestly, there was like can't take it because it's just going to be a detriment. Is basically what they were getting at, and that's unfortunate because a lot of those things were memories, things that they cared about. So if they were only allowed to take like limited memories back with them, honestly, like, I at that point, just move on and hope to create something in the future. Because right now, holding on to those things sounds like to them a burden. And eventually it'll become nothing. But until it becomes nothing, it's going to have to weigh some type of since you know you can't keep it forever. You're going to weigh some amount of suffering until it's gone. Until something eventually takes it away from you. It's life. Life just seems to funny how life works. It seems to pick apart the very things that are just needed to be taken away from you. It's almost like it was planned. Who knows? Chapter 10, page 93. Click, click, click. Oh, man. That was a little way. Doing the best I can to keep it from clogging. That at the next full set, I'm ready to continue. Chapter 10, page 93 of The Grapes of Wrath. When the truck had gone, loaded with implements, with heavy tools, with the beds and springs, with every movable thing that might be sold, Tom hung around the place. He moved into the barn shed, into the empty stalls, and he walked into the implement lentos and kicked the refuse that was left. He turned a broken mower tooth with his foot. He visited place he remembered, the red bank when the swallows nested, the willow tree over the pig pen. Two shoats grunted and squirmed at him through the fence. Black pigs, sunning and comfortable. And then his pilgrimage was over, and he went to sit over the doorstep where the shade was lately falling. Behind him, Ma moved about in the kitchen, washing children's clothes in a bucket, and her strong, freckled arms dripped soap suds from the elbows. She stopped her rubbing when he sat down. She looked at him for a long time with the back of his head. When he turned and stared over at the hot sunlight, and then she went back to her rubbing, she said, "Tom, I hope things is all right in California." He turned and looked at her. "What makes you think that ain't, huh?" Question mark, he asked. "Well, nothing. Seems too nice, kinda. I seen the hand building fellas passed out and how much work there is, and high wages and all, and I was seeing in the paper how they want folks to come and pick grapes and oranges and peaches. That'd be nice work. Tom, picking peaches, ever if they wouldn't let you eat none, you could maybe snitch a little ratty one sometimes, and it'd be nice under the trees. Working in the shade, I'm scared of stuff so nice. I ain't got faith. I'm scared. Something ain't so nice about it. Tom said, "Don't rouse your faith bird high, and you won't do no crawling with the worms." I love Tom. 94. The Grapes of Wrath. I know that's right. The scripture, ain't it? Question mark. I guess so, Tom said. I never could keep scripture straight since I read book 9, The Winning of Gracia-Otaku. Ma chuckled lightly and scoured the clothes in and out of the bucket, and she wrung out overalls and shirts, and the muscles of her forearms corded out. Her pa was Pa. He quoted scripture all the time. I got it all rolled up too. It was the Dark Miles and Meonic. He grew up mixed up. Used to read every word in that amniotic out loud. Letters from folks that couldn't sleep or had lame backs. And later, he had given them people for a lesson. And he'd say, "That's a part of book for scripture." Your Pa and Uncle John troubled him some about it when they laughed. She piled wrung clothes like a cord wood on the table. Why did my voice sound like that? They say it's 2,000 miles where we're going. How far you think that is, Tom? Question mark. I seen it on a map. Big mountain like it on the postcard, and we're going right through it. How long you suppose it'll take to go that far, Tommy? Question mark. I don't know, Tom said. 2 weeks, maybe 10 days, if we got luck. Look, Ma, stop your worrying. I'm going to tell you something about being in the pit. You can't go thinking when you're going to be out. You go nuts. You got to think about that day, and then the next day, and about the ball game Saturday. That's what you got to do. Old timer does that. A new fella's got busted his head on the cell door. He's thinking how long it's going to be. Why don't you just do that? Just take it day by day. That's a good way, she said. She filled up her bucket with hot water from the stove. She put in dirty clothes and began punching them down in the soapy water. Yeah, that's a good way. But I like to think how nice it's going to be maybe in California. Never cold. White houses among the orange trees. I wonder that is. If we all get jobs and work, maybe we could go get one of them little white houses. All the little fellas go out and pick oranges right off the tree. Then we ain't going to be able to stand it. They get to yelling so. Tom watched her working, and his eyes smiled. Done you going on just thinking about it. I know that fella from California. He didn't talk like us. You'd have known he come from some far-off place, just the way he talked. But he says there's too many folks looking for work right there. Now he says the folks that pick the fruit live in dirty old camps, and they don't hardly get enough to eat. He says wages is low and hard to get any. The shadow crossed her face. Oh, that ain't so, she said. Your father got a handbill in a yellow paper telling how they need folks to work. They wouldn't go to no trouble if there wasn't plenty work. Costing to get good money and them handbills out. What do they want to lie for and cost the extra money to lie? Question mark. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. Tom shook his head. I don't know, Pa. It's kind of hard to think why they done it. Maybe. He looked out at the hot sun shining on the red earth. Maybe what? Question mark. Maybe it's nice. Like you says. Where's Grandpa gone? Where's the preacher gone? Ma was going out of the house, her arms loaded high with the clothes. Tom moved aside to let her pass. Preacher says he's going to go walk around. Grandpa's asleep here in the house. He's coming in here in the day and laying down here sometimes. She walked to the line and began to drape pale blue jeans and blue shirts and long gray underwear over the wire. Behind him, Tom heard a shuffling step, and he turned to look in. Grandpa was emerging from the bedroom, and as in the morning, he fumbled with the buttons of his fly. I heard talking, Grandpa said. Sons of bitches wouldn't let an old fella sleep. His furious fingers managed to flip open the 2 buttons on his fly that had been buttoned, and his hand forgot what it had been trying to do. His hand reached in and contentedly scratched under the testicles. Ma came in with the wet hands, and her palms plucked and bloated from hot water and soap. Aw, poor Ma. Thought you was sleeping. Here, let me button you up. And though he struggled, she held him and buttoned his underwear and his shirt and his flyer. You're going around the side, she said. Let him go. And he sputtered angrily. Fella come to be nice. Somebody buttons him, will be let be to button my own pants. Ma said playfully. They don't let people run around in their clothes unbuttoned in California. They don't, huh? Well, I'll show them. They'll think they're gonna show me how to act out there? Why, I'll go around and hang them out if I want. Ma said, seems like his language is getting worse every year. Show him off, I guess. Alright, I want to smoke before we continue. We're going to check the time. We're still at good time. I'm not throwing up any sort of game. I'm purely just having fun with the visual hamburger, you know. I like to do cool stuff like that. I mean, you know, people have their sticks. I'm not going to be going to raves with gloves and doing all that, but, you know, I feel like if you can move your hands in a certain motion, yeah, you know, you're kind of intricate with it, like, you got a little pretty flow going on. I could sit there and figure out like a solid pattern. The old man thrust out his bristly chin and regarded Ma wide with his shrewd, mean, merry eyes. Well, sir, he said, we'll be a-starting before long now. And by God, there's grapes out there, just a-hanging out in the road. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick a walrus tub full of grapes and I'm going to set them out, scrounge around and let the juices run down my pants. Tom laughed. By God. If he lives to be 200, you never will get Grandpa's house broke, he said. You all set to going, ain't you, Grandpa? The old man pulled out a box and sat down heavily on it. Yes, sir, he said. You're goddamn near time, too. My brother went out there 40 years ago. Never did hear nothing about him. Sneaky son of a bitch, he was. Nobody loved him. Run off with a single action Colt of mine. If I ever run after him and his kids, he got another out in California. I'll ask for that Colt. But if I know him and he got any kids, he cuckolded them and somebody else is raising them. I sure will be glad to get out there. Got a feeling he'll make a new fella out of him. Go right to work in the fruits. Ma nodded. You mean to, too, she said. Worked right up to 3 months ago, when he threw his hip out the last time. Damn right, said Grandpa. Tom looked outward with his seat in the doorstep. Here comes that preacher, walking around from the backside of the barn. Ma said, Curious grace I ever heard this morning, that he ever gave. Wasn't hardly no grace at all. Just talking about the sound of it was like a grace. He's a funny fella, said Tom. Talks funny all the time. Seems like he's talking to himself, though. He ain't trying to pull nothing over. What's that look in his eye? Said Ma. He looks baptized. Got that look like he calling looking through. He sure looked baptized. Walking with his head down, staring at nothing on the ground. There is a man that's baptized. She was silent, for Casey had drawn near the door. We're gonna get sun shook, walking around like that? Casey said, well, yeah, maybe. He appeared to them all suddenly, to Ma and Grandpa and Tom. I gotta get him west. I gotta go. Wonder if Ken go along with I wonder if I can go along with you folks. And then he stood embarrassed by his own speech. Go ahead and double check the time. I might have to cut it a little short, but we're going to keep pushing. All looked to Tom to speak, because he was a man, but Tom did not speak. She let him have the chance that was his right, and then she said, why, we'd be proud to have you. Of course, I can't say right now. Paul says all the men gotta talk tonight to figure where we're gonna start. Guess maybe we better not say it's all the men come. John and Paul and Noah and Tom and Grandpa and Al and Connie are all gonna figure soon and they'll be back. But if there's room, I'm pretty sure we'll be proud to have you. The preacher sighed. I'll go anyways, he said. Something happening. I went up and looked and the house is empty, and this whole country's empty. I can't stay here no more. I gotta go where the folks is going. I'll work in the fields and maybe I'll be happy. You ain't preaching, and you ain't gonna preach, said Tom. Ooh, I messed up this was bad. I'm gonna drink a little bit of water. Get some water in my system. Hydration check. I ain't gonna baptize. I'm gonna work on the fields and the green fields, and I'm gonna be near the folks. I ain't gonna try to teach them nothing. I'm gonna try to learn. Wait. This is Casey talking. I ain't gonna baptize. I'm gonna work on the fields and the green fields, and I'm gonna be near the folks. I ain't gonna try to teach them nothing. I'm gonna try to learn. Gonna learn what the folks walked in the grass. Gonna hear them talk. Gonna hear them sing. Gonna listen to kids eating mush. Gonna hear husbands and wives pounding the mattress in the night. Gonna eat with that here learner. His eyes were wet and shiny. Gonna lay in the grass, open and honest with anybody that'll have me. Gonna curse and swear and hear the poetry of folks talking. All that whole. All that what they don't understand. All them things is good things. Ma said, amen. I think we got like 2 more minutes. The preacher sat humbly down on the chopping block beside the door. I wonder what they is for a fella so lonely. Tom coughed deliciously. For a fella that don't preach no more, he began. Oh, I'm a talker, said Casey, not getting away from that, but I ain't preaching. Preaching and telling folks stuff I'm asking, that ain't preaching, is that? I don't know, said Tom. Preaching's a kind of tone of voice. Preaching away and looking at things. Preaching been good to folks when they want to kill you for it. Last Christmas in McAllister, Salvation Army come and done us good. 3 solid hours of cornet. Salvation Army come and done us good. 3 solid hours of cornet music, and we sat there, and they've been nice to us. But if one of us tried to walk out, we'd have drawn solitary. That's preaching. Done good to a fellow that can't smack you in the puss for it. No, you ain't no preacher. But don't you blow no cornet around here. Ma threw some sticks into the stove. I'll get you a bite now. It ain't much. Alright, if we're going to continue this session, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're not going to be able to see me, but you are going to... flip it around, but this is what's gonna happen, so. Kind of weird. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. So long, but I'm gonna play. There we go. Okay. So now we got on the charger. You're not just looking at a ceiling, you're looking at nothing. You would listen if you want to continue with me. And before we continue, I'm going to clink. Alright, clink, clink, clink. We're making good time. Let's continue. Grandpa brought his box outside and sat on it, leaned against the wall. Tommy and Casey leaned back against the house wall, and the shadow of the afternoon moved out from the house. In the late afternoon, the truck came back, bumping and rattling through the dust, and there was a layer of dust in the bed, and the hood was covered with dust, and the headlights were obscured with a red flower. The sun was setting when the truck came back, and when the earth was bloody in with setting light, Al sat bent over the wheel, proud and serious and efficient, and Paul and Uncle John, as befitted the heads of the clan, had the honor seated beside the driver. Standing in the truck bed, holding on to the bars of the side, rode the others, 12-year-old Ruthie and 10-year-old Winefield, grim-faced and wild, their eyes tired but excited, their fingers and the edges of their mouths black and sticky from the licorice whips, whined out their father in town. Ruthie dressed in a real dress of pink muslin that came below her knees, with a little serious in her young ladiness, but Winefield was still a trifle of a snot nose, a little of a broader back of the barn, and a inveterate collector. An inveterate collector and smokes of snips, and wherever Ruthie felt the might and responsibility and dignity of her developing breast, Winefield was a kid wild and cowfish. Beside them, clinging lightly to the bars, stood Rosa Sharon, and she balanced, swaying on the balls of her feet, and took up the road shocking her knees and hams, for Rosa Sharon was pregnant and careful, her hair braided and wrapped around her head. Made an ash blonde crown, her round, soft face, which had been voluptuous and inviting a few months ago, had already put on a barrier of pregnancy. The self-sufficient smile, the knowing perfection look in her plump body, soft and full, soft breast and stomach, hard hips and buttocks that was swung so freely and provocatively that it invited slapping and stroking. Her whole body had become demure and serious. Her whole thought and action was directed inward on the baby. She balanced in her toes now, for the baby's sake, and the world was pregnant to her. She thought only in terms of reproduction and motherhood. Connie, her 19-year-old husband, who had married a plump, passionate Hoyden, Hoyden, I think I want to put that down real fast. I'm really going to capture that. Hoyden. Married a Hoyden. Alright. Let's keep it pushing. Was still frightened and bewildered at the change in her, and for there was no more catfights in bed, biting and scratching with muffled giggles and final tears. There was a balanced, careful, wise creature who smiled shyly but there firmly at him. Connie was proud and fearful of Rosa Sharon. Whenever he could, he put a hand on her and stood close, so that his body touched her at hip and shoulder, and he felt that he kept a relation that might be departing. He was a sharp-faced, lean young man of a Texas strand, and his pale blue eyes were sometimes dangerous and sometimes kindly and sometimes frightened. He was a good hard worker and would make a good husband. He drank enough, but not too much, fought when it was required of him, and never boasted. He sat quietly in a gathering and yet managed to be there and to be recognized. Had he not been 50 years old, and so one of the natural rulers of the family, Uncle John would be preferred not to sit in the honored place beside the driver. He would have liked Rosa Sharon to sit there. This was impossible because she was young and a woman, but Uncle John sat uneasily. His lonely, haunted eyes were not at ease, and his thin, strong body was not relaxed. Nearly all the time, the barrier of loneliness cut Uncle John off from people and from his appetites. He ate little, drank nothing, and was celibate. But underneath, his appetite swelled into pressures until they broke through. Then he would eat up some craved food until he was sick, or he would drink Jack or whiskey until he had shaken paralytic. He was a shaken paralysis. Is it paralysis? What is this term? Shoot. Paralytic. Until he was a shaken paralytic. With red, wet eyes, he was raving with lust for some whore in saucer. He was told of him that once he was clear of Shawnee and hired 3 whores in one bed and snorted and running on their unresponsive bodies for an hour. And when one of his appetites was satiated, he was sad and ashamed and lonely again and hid from people. Page 100. We're doing great. He hid from people and by gifts tried to make up by all people for himself. Then he crept into houses and left gum under pillows for children. Then he cut wood and told no pay. Then he gave away any possession he might have had, a saddle, a horse, a new pair of shoes. One could not talk to him then, for he ran away, or if he confronted, hid within himself and peeked out of frightened eyes. The death of his wife, followed by months of being alone, had marked him with guilt and shame, and had left him unbreaking loneliness on him. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that one more time. The death of his wife, followed by months of being alone, had marked him with guilt and shame, and had left an unbreaking loneliness on him. But there were things that he could not escape. Being one of the heads of the family, he had to govern, and now he had to sit on the honor seat beside the driver. The 3 men on the seats were gloom as they had drove towards home over the dusty road. Al, bending over the wheel, crept shifting eyes from the road to the instrument panel, watching the ammeter needle while jerking suspiciously, watching the oil gauge and the heat indicator. And then his mind was cataloging weak points and suspicious things about the car. He listened to the whine while my being in the rear end dry, and he listened to tapping, lifting, and falling. He kept his hand on the gear lever, feeling the turning gears through it, and he had let the clutch out against the brake to test for slipping clutch plates. He might be a musking goat sometimes, but this was his responsibility. This truck, its running, and its maintenance. If something went wrong, it would be his fault. And while no one would say it, everybody, and Al most of all, would know it was his fault. And so he felt it, watched it, listened to it, and his face was serious and responsible. And everybody respected him and his responsibility, even Paul, who was the leader. would hold a wrench and take orders from Al. They were all tired on the truck. Ruthie and Winefield were tired from seeing too much movement, too many faces, from fighting to get licorice whips, tired from the excitement of having Uncle John secretly slip gum into their pockets. And the men in the seat were tired and angry and sad, for they had gotten $18 for every move